Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to LCK Spring 2020. I'm Atlas, joined by Chobra here as Damwon continue their winning streak. 7 games in a row now as they take down T1 in game number 1 that honestly didn't look close. And it's all sort of started in the draft phase where a few questionable decisions were made and T1 weren't ever able to get to that leg up that they were looking for in the early game.
Yeah, T1 kind of floundered after they saw the draft. They seemed to change what their game plan was, but alas, they weren't even able to successfully execute even that part. I would question, even if they succeeded in the ganks and bottom, it would have just simply dragged the game on. But Damwon really able to take advantage of it. Nuguri feeling very good, of course, about having his own time in that top lane. That's what he likes to do, play those 1v1s.
Yeah.
And like you said, that's right. The game-winning streak continues with 7.
And Noguri is going to get more players of the game here as he moves up to 800 points. Yesterday we saw Chovy achieve 1,000, but still only 200 behind. And it's likely that if Damwon keep winning, Noguri will keep picking up player of the games. And I think this is sort of like a flow-on effect that has a lot to do with the bottom lane playing better and Noguri having a lot more space given to him to just be Noguri. And that's always scary. As we have a look at this, this was blind. Canna was just dead. Really, really clean stuff. And that's what got the ball rolling here for Noguri topside, who just keeps playing this lethality Jace and having the best time doing it.
Yeah, it also just seems unfortunate for Canna because Canna has been getting more and more praise about being such a stable top laner, but has to come across Nuguri, who is clearly getting back into his prime right now in the recent games and continues to pick up kills here. Is able to pick up the Jarvan afterwards as well. Just understanding the damage he has. They were thinking about running away from the teleport. Eventually he goes down, but still secures it. And oh no, I've been outed by the votes.
It's all right. You stepped into my shoes as Chobra was the one lone barrel vote out of the 8 out of 9 going over to... I imagine that Castajun on the desk over there is saying, Atlas again, being an idiot. So thankfully, Chobra, you're probably going to be okay because I already have a reputation for throwing out those idiot votes. But that's I'm really glad that you're here offering me that solidarity on the desk.
Oh man, I thought at least listen, if Beryl hadn't picked this, Beryl was the true support, drawing aggro from the draft. If he hadn't picked the Scion, Nuguri wouldn't have had a free lane.
Hey, there you go. There you go. I think the same thing can be said for Ghost. I should have voted for Ghost. I think I messed up. He picked the center and they wanted to shut it down.
Oh, man.
But never mind. Let's see whether Beryl can pick it up here in game number 2. As Damwon move over to the red side, and they are a team that's pretty good at red side drafts, and we'll see whether that's going to continue here, even though red side in round 2 hasn't necessarily been as strong because win percentage wise, Damwon certainly do seem to have a better time on the red side, even though it is only like 9 games in favor of red side and 8 games on blue side here for Damwon. And actually after game number 1, that has entirely been evened out to 9 and 9 as T1 ban away Jace and Silas.
Wow.
It looks like they're going towards an Ornn pickup first as Damwon do ban away the set and are now thinking about which of the 80 carries they want to take off the board, as Aphelios, of course, is going to be the first one to go.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if Damwon will ban out the Senna. If the Kalista gets banned out from T1, I wonder if Damwon will bother banning out the Senna and leaving the Ornn open, just knowing that Senna doesn't seem to be as much of a preferred pick from Teddy. Obviously, they're trying to make it more into his wheelhouse, even in competitive play. But that's one thing to keep an eye on. But like you said, I mean, Ornn, I don't think is a champion that Damwon seems too concerned about.
Yeah, and it might be that Damwon just ban away the Senna here. They could do that if they would like to, but banning the Ornn, I think, would make a lot of sense because T1 have dropped a lot of bans into the Ornn counters. The thing that I find a little bit worrisome here is that even if the Ornn was banned, Noguri is just so good at playing out a laning phase. If he's against a tank, he should generally be able to get work done, as there's the Varus lock-in by T1, and that will help deter Damwon from the center, but not enough. They are still going to hover it, lock that one away as Canyon picks up his trundle, and now the ball's back in T1's court.
Yeah, and T1 really needs to start considering what their answer is going to be depending on the pick from Beryl, right? I think it was also Beryl who said in the interview after the Maokai play that, you know, he just likes to be that tanky frontliner as a support, and so Maokai made sense this time, brought out the Scion. So many options are there, and I don't think it's a matter of banning him out. I think it's just a matter of recognizing how you need to play around it and where else you want to focus if you're not confident in completely dismantling that duo in the bot lane.
Yeah, well, the Jarvan once again going to be picked up here by LM, and interestingly enough, they don't sub him out because this time around, Fake are going to lock away the Azir. I like it. You pick up the Varus and then lock away the Azir so it's not able to be flexed and utilized as a counter pick into the Birdman. As Showmaker, thinking about going back to an old favorite, 2 old favorites actually, It's 10 seconds to go. He was the Akali Lord of 2019, but there are so many different options. He could even go towards his Zoe if he'd like to and go for that counter matchup as that's a Maokai, and they're going to lock that one in instead. And honestly, T1 don't have enough bans to ban out Showmaker here as far as what he wants to counterpick, so they may as well lock away that bottom lane.
Yeah, and I like it. I like the Maokai. Just making sure that first of all, obviously, it offers so much in a team fight in terms of crowd control, and also, of course, good against a lot of magic damage. So they already have the Azir, and in the case that kind of wants to go with another magic damage in the top lane, that sets Beryl up quite nicely. And again, Beryl's just shown that he's capable of doing a lot of work with that Maokai as he's able to farm up in that bottom lane. Oh, they're actually going to just ban out the Rumble.
Wow, interesting that they do want to get rid of it. Understandable based on the Jarvan Rumble synergy, but I'm not sure whether it's going to be enough to deal with Nogari here. As, okay. Last ban here for T1.
Oh, okay. Just making sure, you know, they weren't able to ban him out completely, but LeBlanc and Kassadin, probably 2 of the more kind of wild cards in terms of how much carry potential they have alone, aside from just in the lane, of course. So eliminating that, because right now, obviously, you know, Trundle and Maokai can offer a lot in a team fight. They can be good frontliners, but there's not too much carry potential. But there's the Corki.
Here we are. We're back. We're back to Azir Corki, Chobra. It's taken a while, man. But here we go. This was certainly another comfort pick for Showmaker, and this was the lane that we saw, I think, all throughout 2018. It was like the entire year was just Azir Corki every single game. As yes, ladies and gentlemen of the collective, the resident sleepers do need to come out. As Effort's going to lock away the Taric as we're looking towards the top lane here for Canna. I think it's understandable that they will take away something like an Ornn here, but we'll see where Canna does decide to go. Ornn is pretty stable. But Nogari does have a lot of different tools that he can go towards up there on the top side.
It's I find it funny. Well, and with the game plan coming, from,
GP slaughters Ornn. We know that. So this is a real strong one for Nogari.
Yeah, I think T1 just kind of felt that they had to pick the Ornn, right? It was stable. It offers a lot in a team fight. They're looking more for that realm, obviously, with the Taric and the Jarvan and the Azir as well. And I think they just had to accept that Nogari is going to find some way to dismantle the Ornn. I find it very funny that Ornn seems to have already fallen off in priority just because of a couple scary matchups that certain players have faced. But we haven't really found true good counters against Ornn and lane in the LCK. And yet people are already kind of scared of picking Ornn early. So I think that's just something interesting of note to keep track of as we lead towards the playoffs.
I just think it's not necessarily picking the Ornn blind or anything like that. It's picking anything blind into Nogari is just really scary.
True.
And so T1 wanted to give Nogari the opportunity to pick something away first, and then see whether they were forced into that blind pick scenario, which of course they were going to be, because Damwon always last picks for Nogari. And he's now going to have a really good matchup there as well. You can see they're going to have a whole lot of AoE control in this game. Their team fight is terrifying. They're scaling pretty good. But up against Ornn, Azir, and Varus, I mean, late game is going to be a realm where T1 are going to be very happy to play around, not to mention the Cosmic Radiance being so effective by the Taric in these team fights where, you know, Gangplank Ultimate's going to be coming down. Corki's going to be raining Terror in as well in an AoE. If they can utilize that Taric ultimate effectively, T1 should be able to have a decent time in late game team fights. But I think a lot of this game comes down to how the laning phase works, and it can be difficult here with a few of these lanes on T1's side. We'll just have to see how they cope here in a game number 2 that they have to win.
Yes, T1 obviously down 1 game already in this series. Will Damwon, I mean, if Damwon wins this, they're continuing on a 4-match, 8-game win streak, which would be incredible for them, continuing to set records for themselves here in the spring split. T1, like you said, they have very, I guess, transcribed coordinations and combinations right now for their team composition, right? We've seen all these champions in different setups and different combinations through and through. It's pretty clear what they need to do to win these fights. But I think, if Nuguri, gets away even by the slightest bit, things are going to get pretty scary because the damage coming in from Damwon as the game continues, I think will just completely outlast what T1's able to do, especially if they're just aware of where Taric is.
Yeah, exactly. And if they can play around, the arm time that Cosmic Radiance does have as well, they do have a lot of upfront burst damage also. So it will be hard for Effort to really get maximum value out of his Taric, but he's a very good Taric player. We'll see whether it is going to work out here as we have a look for the Sinners, and we don't find any. It's just one Glacial Storm coming out onto Teddy. There's Ghost taking a fair bit of damage there, but of course does have the Piercing Darkness to help keep him comfortable, as Dazzle's going to land onto him there as well, but Beryl is going to stand and act as bouncer, as we've got Corgi and Meowkai in this. It's a menagerie of skins. I love it.
The skin game is very strong. Noticing that the first Drake will be Infernal as well, so we do have a chance of getting that Cloud Soul, which is, I know, has been haunting you all week.
Certainly has. But you can see Ellen hovering around topside as Noguri shooting Canna over and over again. Noguri is actually taking the more defensive choice here in the Grasp of the Undying. But of course, not too many other keystones that you want to be taking here on the Gangplank these days with the lack of Kleptomancy on this particular patch as we've moved into 2020. Damwon underneath their turret, pretty comfortable. As you can see, very even when it comes to farm and things like that. And we're going to have a look at the win rate on Showmaker's Corki. Yeah, it's really damn high, guys. He's really good at this champion.
Yeah.
Oh, no, but he missed a cannon creep. Oh, no, I think he got it. I think he got it. He got it in the end. We're okay. I'm just going to assume that he got it so that the collective doesn't get tilted.
There we go. Showmaker's still at top of his game. I think this bottom lane's also going to be pretty boring through and through. Neither side really has a great opportunity to make something happen on their own, unless ganks come. But even if ganks come through, there's some pretty decent disengage on both sides. So, the junglers, I think, have a pretty big choice to make. And for T1, I think the obvious one is top lane, just because of who's playing right now and also who they're going up against. But even then, unless you're completely shutting down Nuguri and then freezing, you're not going to be able to do much.
Yeah, not to mention if you miss your Searing Charge knockups as well, as LM comes on over, and Nuguri's just happy because Canyon is in his back pocket. And yeah, this is I don't think it's necessarily an indication of laning against Gangplank as Ornn, because it is a rough matchup, right? But it certainly is an example of laning against Nuguri. It's just real rough, as Cannon does get a knock up there. Really nice stuff, as LM is going to make his way forward as well. Canyon not in position, but there's the flag drag flash, and Noguri, I am so sorry, my friend. The caster curse happens again.
Yeah, that was just really good by Canna, waiting for another chance, knowing that LM was still nearby. Calls for help just in time for LM to with the follow-up to this combo. Really good flash, of course, in response to Nuguri's flash as well. At the end of the day, Nuguri's going to come back. He has a Sheen now. It's not the end of the world. They did give a kill over to Ornn, but I think Nuguri is going to be okay. Probably feels a little bad. It hurts him in the soul a little bit, but he should be okay in the game.
There's a twisted advance there to avoid the Dazzle stun. I don't mind it. They're from Beryl, who's going to be picking up all of this farm as best he can underneath the turret. As we have a look at this one once again, Nuguri actually opting in for this trade, but getting himself out of position. And Ellen, he just had his back stopped. And so, of course, he was there.
Yeah, I think Nuguri was counting on also the minions being in his favor to continue that fight, but because Elim showed up, they had to just run away from the entire wave, and therefore even Canna being able to kind of take on that 1v1. Canada now feeling good, but Nuguri is still pushing up in the lane, right? So they're not able to get any advantage in terms of experience or gold, and Nuguri able to have the vision as well. So as long as he's paying attention to his minimap, T1 haven't really succeeded too much other than making sure Canna doesn't get cannibalized in the top lane.
Ooh, I liked that pun. That was really beautiful.
Yeah, you see that?
Yeah, big fan. Big fan. Is Canyon going to come on over, spots out Effort and LM here on the Drake. Faker's going to have inside track, though, and Canyon might be in trouble here as Teddy is moving on over. Effort very low on mana, so I don't think he's got too many dazzles in him. But Damwon still want to fight for this. Canyon realizes a little bit late that there was no chance. And now Teddy gets a ward down, and the flash in from Canyon will get the flash out of Teddy. That's a good trade.
That was good. That was very good by Canyon. That was a good pillar. I know I harped on it a little bit.
He's got his eye in now. He's got his eye in.
Well, again,
they can take a lot of damage here. Dangerous stuff is, yep, Canyon going to move on down. Faker going to shift some sands to keep himself safe. Emperor's Divide still available. Exhaust also still available. You can see Showmaker has gone for the teleport instead. So battle stats are going to be going the way of the Azir in this lane. You can see already the farm has certainly worked out for Faker so far.
Yeah, not much that the junglers have to do. There's not going to be too much action anywhere. Mid lane is a lot of trees. Whoa, Showmaker.
That's a painful one.
If he had a different summoner, I think he would have gone for it, but happy to just try to keep Faker at bay. Obviously, Faker's still able to secure his CS, so I think Showmaker is focusing on that aspect.
Yep, Showmaker's picked up a tier as well. As it's been a while since I've personally seen Corki in the meta. And normally you do see Trinity Force rushed for just because Corki utilizes it so well, but just a more poke-associated build here coming out from Showmaker to make sure that he can stay in lane and shoot out rockets as often as he would like.
Yeah, seems like a conscious choice given how the game has been playing out, and also obviously now that we've seen that he's taken that teleport, I think Showmaker is just in that whole state of, I'm just going to hold this lane, make sure Faker doesn't get to go around and cause menace. And then also, if he's able to build up his tier earlier, that will actually get them in a stronger position in the mid game as long as he's able to farm up his Trinity Force as well, which doesn't seem like it'll be a problem in mid lane. I don't think either side is really happy or unhappy. You know, both sides, Faker and Showmaker, just farming up. So it's going to be a matter of who can roll around the objectives so far. T1 has shown a little bit more initiative, but here's the package.
Yep, he's picked that one up for himself, and getting towards that Manamune pretty quickly here in this game is Showmaker. I did a little bit of research just quickly to see whether I've missed something, but it's definitely just weird. That's all I can say is everything on pro builds for like every other pro player is the entirely standard Corki build, as T1 has started off Shelly here as Canyon looking to move on in. Showmaker clearing out vision, and now Canna's going to move on down as well as they're turning it onto Noguri. Doesn't have flash available as Cannon Barrage will go down, but it's not going to be enough package delivered. But Elim, he's not there. He's not at his front door ready to pick it up as the flash has to be used for Showmaker to get himself out. The Brambles come in there as Beryl looking to try and lock that one down. Not quite sure who picked up Shelly as Ghost does grab it, but Beryl's picked up that kill, and now Effort in trouble. Ghost looking for the last auto. He'll get it as Showmaker's still alive on the back line. Teddy tries to lay down the hail of arrows, but there's a twisted advance. The arcane smash is going to be there, but Ghost picks up the kill with an auto, and Damwon turn it all around.
Wow, and things looked a little poor for Damwon as well, but I think Showmaker, obviously he was going for the kill on LM, but also more importantly, drew out the entirety of T1. They went for the kill on Nuguri. T1 was prepared to kind of turn it back on the rest of Damwon. By Showmaker going in with the package, it separates the team of T1, and they're also drawn away from the Herald. So we did see Damwon able to pick that up. If we watch here again, Nuguri getting caught, probably not calculated, but does end up working in their favor. Canyon rushes towards the Herald. He's only focused on it. Now watch Showmaker go in. He draws all three members of T1, and now Faker left alone, not able to combat the rest of the team. Showmaker's just spending so much time on the outside. Beryl comes in with the ultimate as well, locking up two extra members. Ghost able to pick up the Herald, and now Damwon is actually getting the pinch in reverse. Like you said, Showmaker never went down. If they had caught Showmaker, the ending of this fight, despite the Herald going to Damwon, may have been different. Also, Beryl continuing the chase, really showing that strength. of what Maokai brings to a fight.
Yeah, and also now the Rift Herald thrown into the mid lane. All of these turret plates going over to both Ghost and Showmaker. Definitely two players that you want to start stacking as Showmaker gets his magical boots, has that mirror mana that we were talking about already completed. And Ghost, he's got Executioner's Calling. He's very happy here in this lane as soon as he comes back to it. And Teddy and Effort are going to be a little bit hard-pressed to rely on that sustain to keep them up in this lane. And Ghost and Beryl are going to be able to rain terror down on them with saplings and these long-range auto attacks. And Ghost now on this center is going to be a very different center to the one that we saw in game number 1, because he has been accelerated and will be able to do a lot more damage. And I think that we won't see this time around the Athene's Unholy Grail pickups and things of that nature, because he will be actually a literal carry this time. Despite the fact that I really did like what he did, sort of adapting his build in game number 1 just to be more support, understanding that he hasn't got the acceleration that he wanted, and you may as well play around the rest of your lanes.
Yeah, Damwon also definitely could use a little bit more help in that damage department, of course, as it goes towards the late game. And Maokai has a couple other tricks up his sleeve to stay fit in a fight and survive, as he can use his Twisted Advance to dodge some abilities and also continue stacking up his passive as well. I think Beryl continue to look more to be a CC bot this time around than just that complete shield that Sion was in game 1.
Yeah, no, I think you're exactly right. And I think with the ultimate, he will be able to really help control these fights. And you know that like Cosmic Radiance really is one of these abilities that you need to be able to reposition for, right? As soon as that goes down.
Right.
And if you've got these cats just parading through your team fight, it's not really going to be helpful in being able to get yourself under the safety of the Cosmic Radiance. So we'll have to see how Damwon do play out these fights, as Nogri fighting up against Canna here, but is going to avoid pretty comfortably the Searing Charge. Still looks like the Ornn is laning relatively well. Despite Nogri hitting his 0-2 power spike. This is the danger zone, T1 fans.
Gotta start watching out now. The early kill is really helping out Canna. Obviously, he was able to secure that Sunfire Cave very early on. And we just see the Trinity Force coming out for Nuguri. So Canna had the advantage there for a little bit. But Nuguri, I'm sure, will get a little bit more aggressive as we see the items come out. In terms of CS, also, Canna doing very well. Looks like the second Drake going over in favor of Damwon. No one around to contest it, and we'll keep an eye on which soul.
Oh, there's the Cloud Soul. It took us one game in lieu, but we did manage to get to our Cloud Soul dream. And we'll see whether Damwon's Cloud Soul stat is going to continue. 0 Cloud Souls so far, and it might be that they just give up on Drakes this game. We'll see whether Shirley is going to be where they're going to put their focus, as she's going to be available in a few minutes' time. Ghost just going to take away some more plates here towards the bottom side, utilizing that Piercing Darkness in order to do so. And Damwon, once again, in game number 2, in control.
Yeah, Damwon definitely holds on to the pacing of this game. Showmaker picked up his package just to make sure that he can continue cycling it, and in case he needs to go for any assistance in the side lanes, although it looks like things will be pretty quiet for a while here on out. No big objectives showing up just yet. Herald will be coming up soon. But other than that, no one's really poised to go for a big gank or a big dive in the side lane. So Showmaker happy to continue forcing this down. They might actually be able to take it all down with Canyon here as well.
Yep, they should be able to get rid of this last remaining. Nope, the plate has gone down. Is now Faker looking for an Emperor's Divide. I have a feeling this turret is on its last legs, only a hair's breadth away from death. 87 health is not something that you're going to feel very comfortable with, as Teddy's facing off against the Kitten Man himself on the bottom side of the map in the Maokai. And Beryl pretty comfortable there as well, doesn't seem too phased by the Varus, but Teddy has still been farming very, very well. Of course, one thing that you can rely on Teddy for is staying up in the farm and keeping it pretty close to 10 CS a minute. As Showmaker picks up this minion wave, and he is now building towards his Trinity Force. This is a Corki that's mistaken himself for an Ezreal. Picking up the Manamune first, is that is an ultimate towards the bottom side. Make that 3, as Beryl's looking to try and take down Teddy whilst tanking up this turret the whole time. And he does get the kill. This is an example of the AoE potential of this team.
Wow, really utilizing those global ultimates. I thought it was a little crazy that Beryl was going in, but I think he took, what, like 5 turret shots, and he was still pretty healthy, just casually walking out of range. So that is not something Teddy was fully expecting. I think he thought they were just going to farm off against the Maokai, but Beryl continued to prove that he can do a lot more than just be a walking tank.
Yeah, and also, like, he can lock you down for so incredibly long. So lining up what is a difficult skill shot to land in the Dawning Shadow is pretty easy. As, I think this is Beryl just saying,
yeah, Beryl asking
kill
for
it.
the ults. And he's just asking for the ults, and then he's confident that he's got him. And they're calling that T1's probably doing the Herald afterwards, so they just want to continue pushing bot lane.
Yeah,
very confident in what the combination is able to offer. Very calculated in terms of damage, and not afraid to just continue putting out those auto attacks under that turret.
Yep, and also able to pick up the first turret as well. 3,000 gold is now going to be their lead as they immediately transition their bottom lane towards the top side of the map, and triple teleports are available here for Damwon as well. So their ability to rotate to any objective that they deem worthy is very, very easy. Nogri setting up shop here towards the bottom lane. Teddy and Effort will be able to put on a fair bit of pressure, and we'll see whether the Gangplank's... Oh, yeah, he does have the wave clear, absolutely, with the Corefield's Warhammer and his Trinity Force, 30% CDR, and Showmaker, that one auto attack that went awry in the last little siege, is going to be completed here as Beryl and Ghost underneath this turret. This is just pressure across the map for Damwon.
Yeah, Damwon's not giving T1 a second to breathe. They're just slowly suffocating the entire outer lanes away from T1. And, you know, now that they have that pretty strong lead, I think they're happy to do so and try to end the game earlier before the rest of T1 really come online.
Well, Nogri very close to having that ultimate available. Shirley's going to be taken down here without actually getting too much work done. You really need to take the turrets when you throw down the Rift Herald when it's the second time around, because those turret plates aren't going to be available. Showmaker thinking about it back, looking for his Trinity Force. But you can see there are triple bounties on Damwon, and it's on Ghost, Beryl, and Showmaker. This is a scary game.
Showmaker continuing to lead in the CS as well. And again, Showmaker and Faker have been left alone quite a bit, but considering what Damwon's been able to do and what you mentioned, Atlas, with the 3 teleports as well, I think Showmaker comes out on top here in that, you know, they didn't need to be that powerhouse mid lane in terms of Damwon. They just needed to farm up. The package is up again in time for the Drake. It looks like Damwon going to at least go for the Drake, even if they don't always charge all the way up to the Soul. Obviously, it still offers a decent amount of resources for them, especially considering there's not a really high priority objective elsewhere on the map right now.
And also, Showmaker is able to throw out his ultimate at all times. Also, as the recharge rate on his rockets is also going to be very good if they do get that ultimate CDR, as they do manage to take down the Drake, and now they're looking for the team fight. A great time for it as well as Showmaker. He's gone back, he's got the package as well as his Trinity Force, as now all of those ultimates rain through. But the Ram, unable to get anything done, and look at this poke. Even the ultimate coming out from the Gangplank is able to stifle T1, but no one's going to fall down. It's just Damwon picking up a dragon.
Wow, Showmaker really patient with his package. It almost felt like as they were grouping up against, as T1 was grouping up against the wall, that was just a perfect moment for him to lock down 1 or 2 people for the rest of the team to burst down. But Damwon not taking any chances, which doesn't seem very a familiar style for Damwon, not going in hard for the kills and just saying if we shove them out, we can still take advantages elsewhere. Looks like they're focusing on that top lane, trying to get the outer turret. Showmaker should be able to with the assistance of the minions here.
Yep, and look at how dangerous this Corki is. It is terrifying. His power spike here at the 20-minute mark is just huge. Looking for his Mercury Treads this game as well against a fair bit of magic damage. In fact, everyone doing magic damage apart from, I guess, the Jarvan, although he still has his standard, which does magic. As Beryl in this mid lane up against Teddy, and he'll be taking down as much of this CS as possible. And oh, look at the adorable kitty cat.
That is cute. I haven't seen it up close, actually, ever. Oh, man.
I like that Jonah Strong's just decided that he wants to have fun with the Maokai skin now that we're in a little bit of the lull state. But I don't understand. Where has this Damwon been all season?
Seriously. I mean, this is a completely new look. This definitely feels more upgraded as well, just overall in the course of their career, in that they are now aggressive as solo players, but so stable, and their communication just seems so on point in terms of what they're able to offer. We heard the comms as well, right? Both in Game 1 and Game 2 through the Pro View, and both times we're only hearing the necessary comms to make team plays happen. If someone's able to get a kill, they just do it, right? And there's not too much else going on in their side of the game. So it's very great to see from Damwon's point of view. Now for T1, I wonder if it's just a matter of they weren't expecting this Damwon to show up, or if there's something else going on. It also seems like they are definitely testing their limits a little bit, with Ellen continuing to try to get more experience, so they have two junglers who are able to offer different things as they go into the playoffs.
Yeah, and they've also let through Senna 2 games in a row, so maybe that was a conscious choice as well, to see whether that is something that they need to be banning away. And so far, if we're going to look at the results, the analysis may state that Senna is something that they don't want to let through as this goes on. It also, like, Senna is a great way for Damwon to add inherent pressure on the map away from Showmaker and Noguri, so I feel like she does suit the Damwon playstyle very, very well. On top of the fact that Ghost is just a great center player, and Beryl being unlocked like this certainly does help them out. Senna is this really interesting champion where I feel like it empowers the support player much like a Kalista does, and allows them to really show their stuff. In Kalista's case, it's more about how they can engage, but in Senna's case, it's more about, we can give you a whole lot of farm and you can be a legitimate carry in this game if you would like to, Mr. Support Player.
Yeah, it really shines the spotlight on them. And I do find it interesting that, you know, giving the Senna up to kind of see if they can play against it is one thing, but continuing to pick these compositions in the bottom lane where they don't have an answer for that, right? They're not able to harass them entirely out or go for very aggressive dives. It's just very standard lanes coming in from T1, which Beryl and Ghost have been very happy about, and they've proven not only in this game, but in their previous games as well. So it seems that maybe a little bit, if it was a bit of an experiment, perhaps not as efficient as it could have been, where, you know, some other compositions, maybe one of those main supports, or going for a complete, you know, off-meta or non-AD carry, right, in that role for Teddy.
Yeah, it could have been
able to combat that.
Could have been something that they could have gone for. I think LCK players do really like Varus into the center, so it might have been that T1 felt like they'd, you know, picked an AD carry that Damwon may have not wanted to pick center into, and then perhaps they'd have a more traditional matchup, but Damwon just go for it anyway, and the Maokai worked out very, very well for them. In fact, copying the Ornn build, as you can see, as is Sunfire Cape. Doesn't have the Forge Fire variety, but also going to be picking up that Abyssal Mask and then looking for potentially a Thornmail, but we'll see whether he goes for something a little bit different and just leaves the Bramble Vest there to act as a Grievous Wounds bot for the Maokai. Noguri will be stealing away a red buff and now looking to get themselves to Soul Point by taking away the second Cloud Drake of the match, and also maybe their first Cloud Soul of the LCK for 2020.
I am so curious if they'll go for the Cloud Soul, just because the fact that they haven't had a single one, and if I recall from the stats, statistically they had to have had games with the Cloud Soul up. Yeah, so they just didn't take it, or they weren't able to. And here, they're definitely poised to secure it when it comes up in 5 minutes' time. So we'll see if it's a conscious decision. Maybe they draw a fight and then go for a Baron, or maybe they'll just secure the soul.
Well, you can see effort in a whole host of trouble. The lockdown is almost complete, but our Faker over the side throws the Sand Soldiers in, and Damwon do not want to press too far forward. But this may be an opportunity for Damwon to start off something like the Baron. They do have a fair bit of Baron damage in the Corki especially, and a lot of sustain with Ghost, so T1 coming back into position here, and of course they know exactly what's going on. They have Scuttle Vision as Noguri over to the side, and he can zone out with that Cannon Barrage quite effectively. He's kind of going to get slowed, and now Noguri, does he pull the trigger on that ultimate is the question. Damwon, they just move away from the Baron. They don't want to bite off more than they can chew, and they hold on to that 5,000 gold lead here as it's 4 minutes until that Cloud Soul.
I think Damwon's playing this so smart. They recognize that they don't have vision deep into the jungle, so T1 could have easily turned that fight around with the Cosmic Radiance coming down for Taric, as they're able to maybe funnel the entirety of Damwon into the jungle. So they've shown so much patience in this single game alone in not getting overly aggressive when they have a chance, recognizing that even if they do, let's say if they go through that fight and it ends up in an even kill score, Damwon isn't then capable of taking the Baron. There's no other objective for them to take, so it wouldn't have really been worth it. It only gives T1 more gold to catch up. So Damwon continuing to keep their lead. It's not massive coming into 25 minutes, but it is hefty. It is a 5k gold lead, so something you have to keep track of. And now they're just waiting for a better timing and also preferably a better position to fight.
Yeah, and they do have some 3-item power spikes coming up that are absolutely gigantic. Noguri picking up the Infinity Edge will be huge, as well as that IE coming in for the Corki also. So it might be that they're just waiting for that particular timing. Corki's actually going for a 4-item power spike here with this current build that he has, making sure that he keeps his mana in check with his Mirror Mana. Means that the second crit item is going to be a little bit later and is, of course, highly valuable now that Trinity Force, of course, does not have crit on it. You're only going to have that 20% from the Infinity Edge baseline, and so that power spike isn't going to be as high. But these magic damage crits are not going to be coming in until that 4th item is complete, so probably looking for Rapid Fire Cannon at that stage. Unless he decides to go for something like a Phantom Dancer. His Beryl slightly out of position, but remember, he is extraordinarily large, and there are AoE ultimates everywhere. Ghost in position, Beryl well and truly safe as Faker looking for the ultimate, finds it, immediately just evacuates the center from this game as Faker is going to get punished for it pretty quickly, but no, actually surviving for a very long time, able to pick up a second kill as LM does go golden, but Noguri looking to try and chase after him. Showmaker's going to pick up that one, no worries, as he picks himself up his double kill. And now Teddy's off to the side, and Damwon have inside track on this inner turret mid.
Wow, if you looked at the map as that fight was starting, there was no way Damwon should have come on top in that fight. All of Damwon was spread out across the entire map, not in the complete opposite lanes, but throughout the jungle. They come in fast enough, like you said, Atlas, thanks to some of those ultimates that they can put out globally, and of course, those also providing some slow in the form of Gangplank's Cannon Barrage, and they're able to actually take the inhibitor off of that. So T1 thought they had a lucky break. Faker does have a good ult onto Ghost, but I think maybe if they had just given up and backed out and tried to reset, they don't lose as much. They go in for the great kill onto Ghost, but then that actually keeps him in the fight a second too long, and Damwon able to pick up an inhibitor. Now Baron is up, T1 trying to pressure it to see what Damwon's choice is.
Yeah, Ghost here with his Edge of Night, wandering around with his Umbral Glaive just to clear out as much vision as possible. Back timing there for Noguri. You can see, like, Cannon Barrage is up already, and he just used it in the last team fight. Teleport now going to get him back here, and they can throw it down. We've got the Brambles coming in as well, as there's the Cannon Barrage, but Canyon's in the pit. Teddy's going to lock down the Baron of all people, and already Faker's been taken down, but Canyon has been traded. Cannon now trying just to tank up and keep himself safe, as the Ornhorn's not going to come through. Showmaker does find some members of T1, but he's stopping the backs here. Flashes on over as he's now looking to try and stop effort. He does so as Noguri gets on in here. Teddy is going to be taken down. It's only LM with a Baron buff, but at least he's back in base.
Wow, Showmaker with the high IQ plays, just making sure that he can constantly put out his ultimate to stop those backs. Like you said, that only leaves LM. As they were leaving that fight, we did see a ping. We see it again on the Cloud Soul, but Damwon not really choosing to go for that. They are going to try to push in mid. I don't think they have enough time to really make anything happen, so the Cloud Soul may just have to be their very first Cloud Soul here in the LCK.
Yeah, it looks like what they're going to go towards. Noguri should be over there, and honestly, like, having these really high impact ultimates available so early is really starting to make a difference. As we have a look at the replay from well and truly back in the earlier stages of this game, but just checking, as Ghost did get jumped on, but it took everything that Faker had in order to get there. He was out of position, and Beryl was able to flash on him and eventually take down the Azir. It wasn't before he got that double kill, but it feels like after Faker has been taken out of these fights, Damwon just has way too many extra tools, especially if the focus is on the center. As this is the Baron that was taken down, my goodness, down to very low health before an auto attack from a Varus takes it down.
Yeah, so T1 able to secure that, but even in this fight, Faker goes out very early. He is able to use his ultimate, but only for one person, I believe, on Beryl, and Showmaker just getting the confirmations, flashes over to confirm, and able to stop it in the last second against effort. Nuguri comes in to help secure the kills. Like you said, without Faker there, we aren't really seeing much from the side of T1 just yet. I mean, Teddy does have his items, but without the front line, he's not able to stay in the fight for too long. And earlier, Elim also just getting melted and zoned out by the Cannon Barrage both times. It does not spell a good fight for T1, and Showmaker's positioning has been superb through and through to make sure the consistent damage is there.
Yep, and just checking in on the recharge time of these rockets, Showmaker's going to basically permanently have all of that movement speed as Emperor's Divide will deny access for a few of the Damwon players, but as soon as a few of them get underneath this turret, it is bad news bears for T1, as you can see how much damage they're starting to do. This gangplank's so big in this team fight, and they are going to be able to take down their next inhibitor. It's looking like Damwon's 2-0 train is continuing. The amount of train references that we've had actually has been just ridiculous recently, but it is continuing as the first Nexus turret is going to go down. These barrel crits just gigantic as Canna looking for a desperation last second play, but it's just going to be the end of him. Elim's turn to go in now as Canyon's not worried about that one whatsoever. Effort, I think, died at some point. I'm not entirely sure as Teddy is going to be able to take down Noguri, but he's going to die as well afterwards as Damwon will take down the Nexus, and 2-0 T1.
Wow, I mean, this is great news for Damwon fans. This is the Damwon that everyone wanted to see throughout the entire spring split, and they've definitely, I think, proven now with the recent streak, 8 games, 4 matches, that they found a groove. Maybe a little late in the split, but still, better late than never. And taking down a T1 who's also been looking great coming into round 2 is a big feat for Damwon.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And I just want to shout you out, Chobra. You weren't making the wrong player of the game. You were just ahead of your time. Because I think this game, Beryl definitely deserves it. I think the Maokai support was absolutely fantastic. The way he was calling engages and the way that he was able to completely negate any sort of pick attempt by T1 and turn it around in Damwon's favor. And it did look like Beryl was in control of that game. Like, he was the one making the calls. He was telling them what to do. And it was a Damwon that was empowered by a bottom lane that had so much more control, way more than we ever see from a Damwon team. And maybe, just maybe, this is the full-powered Damwon that we're waiting for. And Coach Kim be damned, we're still able to do it with now Zephyr at the helm.
Yeah, I mean, that also says a lot too, right? Because we've talked about how coaches have really come into the spotlight a lot more, not even just in the LCK, just overall in League of Legends. And for Damwon to prove that they're still able to do it with their roster and then a new coach and find a new system that works for them, I think says a lot. Like you said, I agree. Beryl, I mean, I think it really showed when he went for that kill in bottom lane against Teddy, right? Calling for those ultimates, making that conscious decision that he can pick up the kill, just shows how comfortable he is in this combination with Senna.
Yep, and also when he got ganked in the mid lane as well, immediately managed to call down the Cannon Barrage, the Piercing Darkness, sorry, the Dawning Shadow. Everything was available to keep him alive. And then he gets that flash onto Faker, secures that kill in the end, and makes sure that they are able to have the exact match that they were looking for. This is a Damwon that's very, very scary, and at exactly the right time for this team as well, as we move so much closer to those playoffs. There's only 2 more weeks remaining, guys. Actually more, it feels like 1.5 weeks, theoretically, because it's only a 3-day week in the one following our next, which is just going to be 2 best-of-3s, by the way. This is the final triple best-of-3 week that we have for you guys. As Noguri doesn't get knocked up at the first instance there by Ellen. A little bit early on his Cataclysm, but still able to lock down the kill there. Onto the gangplank. But this was a really interesting fight, and also one that I think Damwon managed to navigate really, really well. Faker gets in, but honestly it felt like Beryl just got a taxi into exactly where he wanted to be.
Yeah, that ultimate was from Faker was definitely a little unfortunate. I think Faker was hoping that they were still on top of the game or on top of the fight, but Showmaker had already done so much damage to the rest of his team that pushing in these members from Damwon didn't work out so well. Here's that fight I was talking about earlier, the dive onto Teddy. And just look at this poor Varus trying to just get rid of the minions so the turret can help, but in fact, Beryl actually just avoiding a lot of that damage early on and allowing that damage to come in from the Gangplank ultimate first.
Yeah, it was really, really clean. Also, the turret felt like it was scratching him behind the ears and not actually doing any damage whatsoever. As Faker was able to make some plays this game, but honestly, it felt like this T1 squad weren't really on the same page. They didn't have the level of confidence and communication that we expect. As you saw, Showmaker there able to take down Beryl, then transition to LM. The Corki was fantastic. I liked the deviation from the standard Corki build with a whole lot of extra mana available to him. And maybe that was actually noticing that they did have Cloud Soul available so that all of these rockets could get thrown out with as much mana as possible. But as you can see, I mean, Showmaker's got infinite mana by the looks of things here in this particular fight. So I don't think that it really did play too much of a part.
Yeah, I did consider giving Showmaker the POG just because of his positioning in all of these fights, but I agree with what you said earlier.
That was so sexy. Twisted advance through the ultimate in order to make sure that the Azir was locked down. Oh man, Damwon, absolutely crazy form in this game. Really, really great to see from these guys, and shows that maybe we've actually got 4 contenders for that top spot here in the LCK after DragonX have also turned around what was a poor start to round 2 after taking down Gen G. It feels like the top 2 were infallible earlier on in the season, but now, after falling a couple of times of asking for both Gen G and T1, it's like we have a 4-horse race from what felt like 2 earlier on in the season.
끝내면 바루스 노플이야. 바루스 노플.
Alright, calling for
바루스
the...
기둥 깔아봐.
Oh, this is Showmaker's point of view. And just calling for no flash on Varus so we can just end the game.
오른.
And just calling their targets. Of course, we have the semi-ramp gods, not in full potential.
타워치자. 야 죽여 그냥
They're
죽여.
saving that for later in the season.
I love how in that fight, in the middle, Showmaker's like, all right, let's go for the turret. You hear the boom at the end. He goes, let's go for the turret. And then he just turns around and goes, no, just kill them all. And then finish the fight. And then they finish the game.
Absolutely perfect. Canyon doing so much this game. 1.7 thousand damage. Not exactly large numbers, but Senna got out-damaged by a Maokai. The Maokai doing so much work, actually doing more damage than Faker this game. Very impressive performance from Beryl, and the damage dealers need no introduction. On Damwon's side, this looks like a 2019 Damwon damage graph, with maybe the 80 carry and support possibly being swapped around, because Maokai probably shouldn't be doing that much work in these games. But good to see Noguri and Showmaker in form and continuing to be so as the season progresses as well. And we have to look to the future here for Damwon also. I mean, their next match is up against Griffin. They should definitely win that one. And the one following against DragonX becomes very, very interesting. With an easier match to close it out. I mean, theoretically, on paper, you're looking at Damwon picking up 2 extra wins against Griffin and Sandbox, and then they should be falling technically to DragonX, but DragonX have proven that they can lose to anyone.
DragonX is definitely still in that phase of when they're good, they're great, but they can still fall susceptible. Of course, we are going to see Beryl getting that player of the game. We talked plenty about what he's been able to do. I am happy that we still get to hear from him since I voted for him in Game 1 as well with the Scion. But look at his
now
it
does give the Korean casters the ability to call you out. So we'll have to listen for that one to see whether they actually mention it. I think that Caster John's a gentleman, so he should probably let you up on that one, and might actually just blame me for it anyway. But having a look at some of these highlights, Beryl just played some really fantastic frontline Maokai.
Yeah, and I think bringing out the Maokai in this support, but of course with the Senna, very specific situation, is proving that Maokai has a spot. There's a reason that Maokai is being considered so often in the current meta with how much tankiness, how much CC it can provide. But this may be the answer, and now it provides so much more threat. What I find interesting about these picks from Beryl is that it not only makes him a threat, there's that scene again going through the Azir ultimate, but it makes the Senna so much more of a high priority, because now that opens up so many different picks.
Well, this time he gets 9 out of 9. So
there
actually, he's got 10 out of 18 so far, as Noguri only being able to pick up the 8 out of 18 so far this game, and nobody else getting a vote so far this series. It was all about Beryl and Noguri. Really cool stuff to see, and now we'll be able to head towards that interview and hear from both Noguri and Beryl about what exactly has changed. And I'm really interested in this particular interview to understand what was the adjustment done to bring Damwon out of the shadows and into the light. It's extraordinary, the turnaround that this team's had. Like, before this win streak started, we had absolutely no faith. And now, those who did have faith are going to be rewarded. As we throw it over to Ji-sun for the interview translation.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Season with the interview translation, and we'll be hearing from Beryl and Noguri from Damwon Gaming. You guys defeated T1, who took down Genji and also DRX. How are you guys feeling?
그 젠지전 지고 나서 좀
After losing to
되게 강팀
Genji,
상대로 이제 다시 경기하는 거라서 되게 긴장도 많이
we're
했었는데
really
오늘 2대 0으로
a little bit
이겨서
nervous
정말
because we
기분
were
좋은 것
going
같아요.
against a very strong team again, but getting this 2-2 win, I feel really happy.
이건 약간 박빙일 줄 알았는데
Yeah, we were
이렇게
expecting
약간
a bit of a
좀 운이
close
좋게
game,
이긴
but
것 같아서 좀
I think we were lucky
얼떨떨하게
and
이어서
we were able to
기분이
get this win, so I'm a bit flustered, to be honest.
왜 본인들도 그냥 그리고 스코어도 2대 0으로 빨랐습니다. 경기도 엄청 좋은
I mean,
스피드였거든요. 첫 번째
2-0 score, especially a very high-speed game.
야, 오늘 우리가 왜 이렇게 잘했지?
Did you guys feel like, why are we so good today? Why did we end the game so fast? How were you guys able to kind of pull off this kind of play? What happened to Damwon recently?
저희는 그냥 늘 하던 대로
We just-
그냥 연습하고
just like
생활하고
usual,
그런 것 같아요.
you
그냥 별로 딱히
practiced.
달라진 건 별로 없는 것
Nothing
같아요.
really changed much.
달라진 건 없는데 경기력은 올라갔고. 그렇죠.
Nothing changed, but still, performance is evolving.
연승을 달리고 있죠. 네. 예, 일단 베릴 선수
So
오늘 경기에서
Beryl
사이온 서포트,
support Sion,
서포트. 어떻게
and
보면
also support
일반적이지 않은
Maokai.
탱커형 챔피언의 가능성 뭐 다들 얘기를
So,
하셨지만 적극적으로 쓰이는 추세가 아닌
very
그런 챔피언들을
unorthodox,
활용해서 좋은
A
모습을
bit of an
보여주셨어요.
off-meta
어떤
champs,
준비
but
과정이
you pulled
있었나요?
off a very good play. So what kind of experiment did you guys go through?
세나랑 할 때 좀 탱커가 있으면 좋을 것 같아서
Well, we
그냥
thought
탱커
that
물론
Senna
프로를
has to
보는데
go with a tank
괜찮은 게 좀
champion.
많더라고요. 근데
So
그중에서
there were a
그냥
lot of good
제가 제일
options.
자신 있는 걸 뽑은 것
So
같아요.
we picked some of the champions that I feel the most confident with.
고스트가 저희가 그런 말씀드리는데
And people are highlighting the effect that happened after Ghost joined Damwon Gaming. You guys have more champion pool since Ghost joined Damwon Gaming.
세나 그 자식 세나라면
When we play
원래
Fasting
원딜이 이제
Senna,
서포트 역할을 하니까
well,
좀잘
actually ADK players actually have to play as a support role.
정보를 같이 좀 데리고
when
같이
playing
잘
with Ghost.
움직이더라고요. 그래서 그런 거 보면
Well, he was
되게
really
좀
good
잘하는
at
것 같아요.
playing with Kenyon, setting up the game, so that kind of had a really good impact for us.
얘기 나눠보도록 하겠습니다. 너구리 오늘
Noguri,
진짜 신나게 간만에 솔킬도 한번 내고
solo kill.
바텀에서
You're having your day, and there was a huge accident happening in the bot lane, but you got a solo kill on the top side. So Kana, one of the most sustained players in LCK, you solo killed him in game number 1. How did you feel?
일단 좀 첫 번째 솔킬 때
When I got the first solo kill,
좀 이거 안 맞겠다라고 생각했는데 좀
well,
이렇게 잘 맞아가지고
I wasn't sure whether I was able to land the shock blast, but I was a bit lucky.
한번
But
이득 보면 좀 항상이
in the second solo kill, actually, I was having a matchup where Jace can really accelerate the lead once he gets it. So I was able to get a very easy kill for the second time. But do you remember when Elim came to the top side once again? So you guys kept having a very extended fight there. I think I made a very overextended play over there. What
늘상
does
있었던 일이니까.
your teammate
아,
react
건무가
to that
약간
kind of
그때
performance?
집 가면서 있었는데 그때
Kenyon,
제가
when he was calling,
오플레이에서 죽었거든요. 아 이거 좀 손해다라고 해가지고
I
좀
said, oh,
미안하다고
I made a
했던 것 같아요.
mistake, and I said sorry to Kenyon.
미안할 했던 것 같습니다. 네. 그래서 근데 그 고립됐어 이런 것들은 좀 신경이
And
고립됐어 1위가 본인인 건 알고
do you
있어요?
know that you are number
네.
one in the isolated deaths department? Yes, I do.
솔킬도 많이 기록해서 단순 고립됐어.
However, today you got a lot of solo kills, you improved a lot in terms of isolated plays.
고치고 싶다. 업그레이드하고 싶다.
So,
그런
is
내용들이
there
있습니까?
any like weakness that you still want to work
최근에
on?
약간 고립됐으나 좀 뱅킹 당하는 거랑 좀 안 좋은 지표가 많아서
Well,
그런
yeah, I know
부분을
that I have a lot of
코치님하고 얘기도 많이
negative
하고
stats,
하면서
so I've
고치려고
been having
최대한
a lot of
노력하고 있고
discussions with my coach.
오늘도 고립됐을
And today,
어렵게 한번 했는데
I did
그것도
make
지금
one
약간 많이 아쉬운 것
isolated
같고
death, so I still
앞으로도
need to
좀
work on it.
안정감 있게 하면서 좀 더
So
공격적인
I want to become more
플레이
consistent,
하고 싶어요.
but
네.
still being aggressive
그리고,
where
오늘
in the
이정훈
situation
팀을
where I
보시는
need to be
분들도
aggressive.
예전 또 은사 아닙니까? 또이 김정수
And
감독인데.
your former head coach moved to T1, so you were playing against your former head coach. Kim Jang-soo.
안정도가 잘 이끄시는 분인데 오늘 강펀치를 날렸습니다. 선수로서.
So you guys were
어떻게
able
기분
to kind
어떠세요?
of
예전
throw your
은사에게.
best shot to your former head coach.
일단 뭔가 저희가 첫 번째 SKT한테
Well,
졌을 때 약간 처음에
when we
그
first,
키포인트 나올 때도 코치진
lost
트레이드
to
식으로 나왔잖아요.
T1.
맞다. 네.
The match point was
그래서
about
그때
Zephyr
약간
and Kim
져가지고
Jong-soo trade. So when we lost that
감독님
game,
내색하진 않으셨지만 좀 그런
Zephyr
좀 약간
didn't
그런 마음이
really
있었을 것 같은데 오늘은
show
좀
it,
그걸
but
보답한 것
I
같아서
thought he would be a little bit
1대1로
sad.
것 같아요.
But this time around, we were able to get a revenge, so we are happy.
2라운드에서 2대0으로 이겼기 때문에
그러니까요.
다음 입장에서 좀
Yeah, I
중요할
mean
때 기분 좋지
2-1 win
않겠습니까?
against
네.
T1.
그리고 이 경기에서 이제
That's
베리
worth a
선수가
lot.
만장일치로 POG를
And
받긴
Bro,
했는데요.
won POG
네.
with 9 out of 9 votes. But at the same time,
또 화제가 많이 되고
Corky from Showmaker has a very unique itemization.
코스가 어제 자기 전에
Well,
네.
before
갑자기 이렇게 생각했다면서
going to sleep, well,
오늘은
Showmaker
약간
kind of
각이다 이러면서
told
하더라고요.
us like tomorrow will be the show Corky day.
선 연운을 가길래
So I saw him
그거 맞아라고
building
했는데 이거
the
무조건
tier
맞아
first.
이러길래
So we were like, "Are
저희는
you
이제
sure?" But he was like,
믿고
100% sure. So we just trusted him.
네. 근데 의구심이 있긴 있었네요. 팀원은.
네, 자기 전에 영감이 떠오를 때가 있잖아요.
Yeah,
네.
sometimes you
어떤
get
일을
that kind of
하든 간에.
inspiration
네,
before
잘
you fall
맞아
asleep.
떨어진 거. 어머,
And I
우리
think
완전
today it
들어가면서
worked out
네,
all
저는
right.
같은 서포터로서 좀 궁금한 게
So
있는데
what did?
세나
As a support
패턴으로서
player,
그 많은 챔피언들을 기용하셨는데
Well,
혹시
you actually
이거
found a
말고도
lot of
사이언
partner
마오카이
for
말고도
Senna
또 다른
on the bot
챔피언을
side.
혹시
So is there any
준비한
other
게 있는가?
recommendation
아니, 그냥
instead of
어떤
Cyan or
챔피언이라고
Maokai?
말은 안 하셔도
You
되는데
shouldn't
혹시
just
또
like
있나요?
give out all the
제가
names, but do you have more?
원래 옛날부터 좀 잡다한 라인을 많이 가봐서 여러 가지 템플을
I
많이
mean,
해서
I've been
좀
playing a lot of
어느
different
정도
roles,
1인분은 할 수 있어가지고 다른 챔피언도
so I can just play any other champions quite well. So
맞아요. 예,
I
베릴이
think
예전에는
Senna can go with
원딜이죠, 이게
a lot of
되게.
different champions.
솔랭에서 이제 베릴이 좀 다재다능한 모습을 보여주는 것 같다라는 얘기도 많았어요.
Indeed, because
네.
Beryl
어느 라인 가든 좀
was
잘한다.
actually spotlighted that he plays a very decent game in any different roles at the solo queue. So I think Beryl got a point there. So lastly,
연속에서 이어갈 것이다.
Damwon, is there any last message you would like to say to your fans?
최근에 좀 그러니까 좀 연패할 때만 해도
During
많이
the losing
분위기도 안
streak,
좋고
we
좀
were having a
팬분들한테
very
죄송했었는데 이번에 좀
depressing
기세도 탔고
atmosphere,
저희랑 좀
and we were
경기력도
really
많이
sorry for
보여드리면서 해가지고 좀
fans.
힘이 나는 것 같고
But
이제
nowadays,
다시
our
팬분들
performance has
경기장에서도
improved a lot,
좋은 모습으로
so
뵀으면
we're a
좋겠어요.
bit relieved and happy. And I'm waiting for the day that we could see the fans again at the arena. Once again, congratulations on the win, and this will be the end of the interview with Beryl and Nuguri from Damwon Gaming, and I'm gonna pass it back to our casters. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ji-sun, for the interview translation as per usual. And congratulations to Damwon once again. Absolutely fantastic performance for those guys. Great to see that Beryl still hasn't got a haircut. I think that has something to do with their power level only increasing. As you see, T1 now moved down to second place. They were slightly ahead, I believe, of Gen G, although it was a different scoreline. Gen G had one extra loss, which is why T1 were ahead of them. But now with even games played, Gen G, utilizing their better game score, will move up to that first place once again. And DRX now have the opportunity to even things out with T1, assuming they win their next match. They have all confirmed playoffs so far, Gen G, T1, and DRX, but Damwon moving one step closer even with KT when it comes to game score, but also they have a pretty decent run, as in like easy run to move out of the regular season. So Damwon looking to really put the screws in here and get themselves to at least a 10-8 scoreline.
Yeah, I think Damwon should feel pretty comfortable. Obviously, again, it's not completely confirmed, so they can't let their guard down. But also, actually thinking back, I think today's games, both of them were perfect games for them as well. They didn't lose a single turret in either game. Again, showcasing just how well they've been coordinating, how clear they are in what their objectives are, and how they need to win the game. So Damwon looking good for Damwon fans. This is a good time.
Yep, perfect game apart from some of those kills going over to T1. But honestly, kills don't matter, especially when you have Noguri only getting stronger with each death that he suffers. But now we've got an exciting one. APK versus Griffin's more of a battle of the bottom of the table. But let's see just how good APK have become and see whether Griffin can get themselves together. I mean, who's going to be in the top lane this time? Is it going to be Hoya starting? Is it going to be Antara starting? We're not entirely sure, but against APK, they better have a tactic in mind because Iksu is one crazy gentleman up there, and it's likely that he has some fun in store for whoever Griffin decide to put in. So make sure you stick around about 10 minutes, guys, and we'll be back for our second match of the day.